Lions fans, Jason from Talking Grit. Thank you for clicking on this video. In this video, Jacob and I talk about our keys to victory this upcoming week against the Cleveland Browns. This was an excerpt out of our full video, our full preview podcast. If you want to get the whole video where we talk more about our grit guarantees, more in-depth stuff, then click in the description. We'll have the full video there. Otherwise, you could just have this small little taste of it. We do this weekly. If you like what you're hearing, like and subscribe. Get that notification. We go live for our post-game fighting recaps. We'd love to have you on. We interact with our fans during that section. So, we're chatting back and forth. We also do an all 22 review. So we'd love to see you there. Hope you guys enjoy the video.
Welcome to Talking Grit.
Let's talk keys of victory. How are we going to crack this defense, or how are we going to stop this really mobile quarterback? I mean, I don't know how we're going to do it. So I'll let you start first. What is your first key to victory?
So the first key to victory I have is putting points on the board and trying to keep a comfortable lead. So points may be at a premium in this game. If we're having, just say that we're having the same sort of day that Green Bay had, where, we're not able to get there very often. I think this is a game where if we're in field goal range and it's like 4th and 4, and, some of those situations that we go for most of the time, I think this game may be one where we take the points. We don't want to make the same mistake that Green Bay did. We don't want them, we don't want to keep it close and have them steal the game in the end. I think a key is going to be to keep a 2-possession lead. You got to keep it up by like 10 points or more. So, I mean, if we're already up by that much, maybe we end up going for it on 4th and 4. But I think if it's a close, if it's a 7-point game, I think we may take the points there. But I know that you said that you were holding your breath for every field goal in that last game. So does that make you nervous? Is it going to be worse for you this week because the Browns are the ones that pulled off that block?
No, that was just the theme of the week last week, and I think there'll be a different theme this week. It may be block punts, and then I'll be holding my breath on every punt. Or maybe it'll be backwards passes in a game, like Jared Goff threw one back. Whatever. I don't know. Whatever the idiosyncrasy for the week will be, it will be different than blocked field goals. I am interested when they interview, because I know they'll talk to Dave Phipp about it. So I'm curious what he saw on tape. Whether it was just something that they noticed because, where they're getting proper leverage or whatever. I'm curious to see if there's a theme about why there were so many block kicks and, what they did in practice to, shore up theirs. Not that we had one block, but, the Browns obviously blocked one last week. We don't want the same thing to happen to us. My first key to victory, and this is as simple as block for Jared Goff. Obviously, Jared Goff is not very mobile. They have an extremely dangerous pass rush. We're going to have to give Jared Goff some time. Maybe we don't have time for deep shots this time, but I want to get the ball out. I think it's going to be important for Jared Goff to just get the ball out in a timely manner. Your back foot hits on a 3-step drop, 5-step drop, and the ball's out. If it's not, I could trust Jared Goff to throw it away. He's not a guy that, sits there and plays around. If the play's dead, he'll throw it out of bounds or throw it at a player's foot. So I trust that, but our offensive line needs to be on point. It's good that I'm glad that this is at home, so we don't have the crowd noise and the communication. We don't have to really worry about that. We blocked extremely well last week, but this defensive front is way better than the Ravens defensive front.
Yeah, I've got that in my key also. Just getting the ball out quick. Just don't let JG get susceptible to getting sacked and killing those drives. So do some sort of jet sweep, some end around plays. Throw, an extra screen or so in there if they're overly pursuing. I do think you still have to take a deep shot or two, but you're going to have to be more selective at when we do that. And maybe that doesn't come off of play action unless we're really gashing them on the ground and opens that up. But I do have trust in Jared Goff that he's going to be able to read the defense and see what he's got. And if we're taking those shots, it's going to be, the appropriate time. But overall, you got to do some quick slants, some hitch routes, get the ball on the outside quick.
Yep. You got another one, or
yes,
did I steal yours?
No, that's okay. I got a couple this time. Sustaining drives. So the last game for the Packers had less than 5 plays on 6 of their 10 drives. They got 10 drives, less than 5 plays 6 times. And the Packers actually had one drive where they had like 12 or 13 plays and they still had to punt the ball. So we need to sustain drives. We need to put points on the board, but we really need to limit going 3 and out. That's always a killer, but especially, we hit a couple against Baltimore where there were 3 pass plays and then we're out. I don't think that the first 2 pass plays don't work. Maybe we run it on 3rd and 10. I don't know. We have to do something. We can't just go out there, throw 3 times. Also don't want, like I mentioned before, for Goff to get sacked and kill the drive. If it's 2nd and 1 and we lose 8 yards on a sack, that's a drive killer. So sustaining drives is going to be very important in this one.
Mine is no turnovers. We do not. You saw what happened when Jordan Love, that turnover at the end of the game. I don't know what he was thinking on that interception. It was terrible. It was just a very bad play. Watching it over and over again, I don't know what he saw or why he threw the ball where he threw it. And
he had been hit several times that game already, and he just wanted to get rid of the ball.
Yeah, and that's fine, but I still don't understand it. So, and I don't expect Jared Goff to make that similar type mistake, but we just can't turn the ball over, whether it be a fumble, interception. We do not need to give the Browns any field position. And like what you were saying, sustained drives, that doesn't necessarily mean we need a 10-play drive to march down the field. It means get a couple first downs, punt it. If we don't get it, you punt it. When that, we talked about this in the Ravens game. Our punt team is not, whether it's Jack Fox or the coverage, it hasn't gone hand in hand. Either penalty has screwed that all up. We've let Grant Stewart got put in a bad position where he basically had to tackle the rusher because it was going to be blocked. We need to shore all that up, because having Flacco come all the way down the field, it's very unlikely they're going to be able to do that if we give them, punt it. Even if we punt it out of the end zone and they got to go 80 yards, we get a touchback, or, if we can get them inside the 20, that's going to be very unlikely for them to have a sustained drive. They're just not built for that. And especially if there's any sort of negative play, like we get a sack. Joe Flacco's thrown 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, so he's obviously prone to throw interceptions. All that stuff can happen. I expect our defense to play really well. It'll be interesting going from like essentially the most mobile quarterback, up in the upper tier, but I would say Lamar is probably the most mobile quarterback, to arguably the least mobile quarterback in this league. Jared Goff and Flacco are probably tied for that honor, I would say. So it'd be interesting, you go from the most mobile to the least mobile. But we just need to play the field position game. So that means getting 2 or 3 first downs if we get stopped, because this is a very good defense. This offense is going to get stopped, punting it. And that it means also for me not going for it on 4th down. Like you saw, we're at midfield, 4th and 3. I might just trust our defense on this one and punt it and be on it. With Ravens was totally different. Defense played really well, but that offense is dangerous, one of the best in the league. So you just don't take your chance. The Browns are totally different. That when Dan Campbell says play complementary football, this is exactly what he's talking about. Like, they all work together. They all work in tandem. Your special teams works with your offense. Your offense works with your defense. You set them up to be successful, and that's how you can do that. And yeah, so no turnovers and play the field position game. All right, that's my last keys of victory. Do you have anything else?
I just have one more, and that is to just, you already kind of talked about it here, but it's to make Flacco's life hell. If we can get 7 sacks against Lamar Jackson and play defense as well as we did on Monday, we should be absolutely terrorizing this team.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to have time to throw the ball. Even if he does, the coverage just needs to be there. They're probably going to have to play the short game as well. They're going to be praying that they can break off a couple of runs and try to sustain some drives. On paper and what we've seen with our team so far, they definitely have their work cut out against them. So, I just want to bring the pressure, keep the heat on them. Don't drop back in the zone and let them pick you apart and rush 3. And, don't let them stay around. You make him run.
I think the rush plan is going to be totally different in this game, obviously, than last week. We're going to be able to over pursue because Flacco's not going to be able to escape. So you don't have to maintain the rush lanes. You could kind of let Hutch go a little bit more. And with this offensive line being, they're going to throw everything over at Hutch. And that's why you have an Al-Quadin Muhammad over on the other side. Whoever else we put over there, Pat O'Connor, they need to win their one-on-ones. They could go crazy because if he escapes out of there, it's not that big of a deal. We don't want to just, over rush and then give him, opportunity to pass, but he's not going to run and screw you and, and just run for a first down or anything like that. So you got to be sort of disciplined, but you don't have to maintain all your rush lanes in there. Our interior offensive lineman can, instead of crushing the can kind of, they could give it more of a pass rush once we, given up that it's not going to be a run. We could do that. There's so many times that they were running stunts in that Ravens game when I watched the All-22 just to maintain being in the front so their blocker wouldn't push them out of the way. They weren't even trying to necessarily get past their blocker, but they wanted to maintain a position and just keep pushing their blocker straight back. And if their blocker started to get leverage, Tyleik and Reeder would switch spots and just kind of either just to maintain that position to stay in front of Lamar. This will be a different thing. We still want to crush the can because getting pressure up the middle destroys any quarterback. And then Tyleik can be dangerous knocking passes down. This one might have been your week to pick a Tyleik knockdown pass. Maybe you've already done that. You've carried it over. You're not creative. You just went over this week. Maybe I ruined it for you. I don't know, but
just copy and paste. No, but just I want to see if the defense does look different because not only is it different from last week with the Ravens, but this is the first time we don't have that threat. The Packers, you have Jordan Love. The Bears have Caleb Williams. The Ravens have Lamar. This week is the first time we don't have that threat of a rushing quarterback. So that's something else I was going to bring up was just the chance of Tyleik possibly getting a sack or getting in there. Last week there were plays where Tyleik, DJ, Roy Lopez. You can look, they have one arm on each of the guys. Like he's not trying to get past them. We're trying to maintain position. We're trying to hold.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be like that this time. You can try to beat them. You can try to get after the quarterback a little more.
I saw someone comparing stats of Micah Parsons and Al-Quadin Muhammad. And it was very funny because I think Al-Quadin he's close in sacks. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, Micah Parsons has faced Joe Flacco and Jared Goff, for his two of his three quarterbacks, whereas we've had to face, Al-Quadin did play very much in the first game, so Love is kind of out, but he had to face Caleb Williams and Lamar Jackson, guys that just run all around. So it's like, you wouldn't expect as many sacks with those type of quarterbacks as opposed to a stationary target like Goff or Flacco. So thought that was interesting to look at those stats and think about the quarterbacks I had faced. And I'm not saying Al-Quadin is Micah Parsons, not saying that, but it was just funny. This early stats could kind of tell a little bit of a lie, but it was interesting when I started thinking about the quarterbacks they had faced.
Right, for sure.